Hi everyone, this is Wilbefast, and this is my first ever narrated video demonstration of Bugger. Bugger is a little top-down shooter game I'm currently developing using C++ and the very swanky SFML media library. Right, so let's just go into the editor here. I've shown this off in previous videos. In the editor you can place various objects, tiles, decorations, pathing, which is used to tell where the player can walk or where you can shoot. So we'll just place the player character here. As you can see, there are various debug overlays drawn in the editor. So we've got the visibility box here drawn in white, and that is used to tell the game whether or not this character can be drawn or should be drawn. So if the white box is entirely outside of the viewport, we don't bother drawing it. We can save a few CPU cycles. There's the viewport there. We've also got the little yellow collision box or hit box, which is used for collision checking, and of course the object's origin. Now, some objects don't have a collision box. Not every object needs it. Some are purely there for aesthetic reasons. For example, tiles don't have a collision box, and neither do special effects. So we're just going to add some walls to the red pathing, just to frame the action so we have some idea of where the player is, where they're moving. I just went into play mode here, and you'll notice that it's still in debug mode. I've set that for just this demo. So you can still see the pathing, you can still see the various overlays. First interesting feature here is that I've added a bit of momentum, acceleration and deceleration to the player's movement. This is inspired by games like Doom and Neat, or however you pronounce that. Essentially just moving around in those games is good fun. And I wanted to do something similar for Bugger. I think it's important for the basic interactions, the basic verbs, to be interesting to play around with. So if it's fun to move and it's fun to shoot, then the game as a whole will feel good. And this is a very simple thing, but I think it really does add a lot to the game. So yes, that's momentum, and of course it works with the collisions as well. Sorted all that out. This here is the health bar. You probably noticed that. Very slapdash. I'll design a proper interface later. I've had a hit points variable for the player character for some time, but haven't used it before. So here we're going to go back into editor mode and add a new pathing type, which is lava or unallocated memory. I've added this just because I want to get the game into a playable state as soon as possible. So there needs to be win and lose conditions. You need to be able to die, and that way it'll be a game and not just an engine. Here we are back in play mode. So if we walk into lava, we lose health every second or so. Very similar to Doom radiation. Enemies don't get hurt from it, but you do. And your health regenerates when you're not standing in lava, gradually over time. I've done this because there isn't any way of getting your health back otherwise, and you die very easily if you don't have some way of recovering. I'm not sure whether I'll keep this in the final game or whether I'll opt for another system, or I don't know. Tell me what you think. Alright, yes, that's right, projectiles. Now a few people on indievault.it were complaining about the projectiles because they came from the character's feet. As you can see, his origin is at his feet and they were coming from his origin. So it did look a bit weird. So what I've done two things. The first thing is the projectiles are now drawn slightly above their origin. So you can see the hitbox and the visibility box are separate and distinct. This gives the illusion of flight. The second thing is that they appear to the left if I fire them from the left, they appear to the right if I fire them right. So rather than appearing from the center of the character. Now this particular projectile, this particular weapon is called a backtrace. It's a new weapon. Going along with the debugging themes, as you might expect, it traces back towards the character. This can be used to shoot things around obstacles or whip them back towards things behind you, or whatever gets your fancy. Really I want people playing around with these things and finding out strategies. But of course that all may change. This little guy is the syntax error, the basic enemy that I've shown earlier. What's new here, if we're going back into play mode, is this little blue circle that's drawn in debug mode. This is his desired distance. So he wants the player character to be inside that circle, and when he's in that inside that circle, this little guy's happy and he'll bite you until you move away. He's also got the little purple line that connects him to the player's last known location. He updates that every second or so. So it's fairly easy to lose him by running away. I do love the little bite animation. It's all placeholder, of course, but yeah, it does look nice. So we're just very stupid, very easily lost. Okay, so that's the syntax. And what I'm now going to show you is a new enemy that I've added just by tweaking a few variables. So essentially the code base is the same. This is the floating point exception. So he's a little pointy enemy, he's got the point and he floats. The interesting thing about him, he's like a projectile. He can fly over holes, which normally you can shoot projectiles over them, but you can't walk over them, and this guy can. So he has that advantage. So if we just go back into play mode here, you'll notice that he has a blue circle and a purple line like the syntax, but he also has this red circle, which you couldn't see for the syntax because his red circle has a radius of 0. This red circle is essentially the minimum distance, so he wants to basically get away from the player. If the player comes within that distance, he will run away. And of course the syntax, being a close combat enemy, has a minimum distance of 0 because he wants to be as close as he possibly can. Another interesting thing is this guy will sort of roam around, dodge around, so long as he's not too close and not too far, avoiding projectiles. Clearly he didn't avoid projectiles well enough, so we'll just reload the level so that we can have a go with him again. So yes, he's using a little fireball projectile that the player was using in previous demos. You can see that it knocks you back. Yes, that's another interesting thing. I've done collisions between objects now, so you can no longer move through agents as you could in previous versions. They can no longer move through you or each other. So yeah, as you can see, all these different agents are created simply by tweaking a few variables, and of course many more will follow. Likewise, the projectiles are also created from a standard sort of base, just by tweaking a few variables. Yeah, so that's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching, and yeah, hopefully I'll be able to keep this format and do something similar next time. Till then, bye.